The only thing that's moving at breakneck speed here is the transformation of our country into a madhouse. That's progressing faster than Stuttgart 21. You have to give the government credit. They're trying.
Dieter Nuhr is really tearing into this government, and actually, by now, we should all be taking to the streets to finally put an end to this government chaos. Definitely listen to what he has to say. It's absolutely explosive and hot, and it perfectly reflects the times we're living in right now.
Last year, the Chancellor and the Finance Minister spent 500 billion in special funds, promising that it was all investments in the future, in infrastructure. And 2 studies have now examined this. Almost all of the special fund are being misused. This has been known for months. The central project of this government has completely failed, and Klingbeil and Merz are still in office, and no one is really getting upset about it.
And yet, day after day, Germans just don't take to the streets. And I really have to say, by now every citizen should really consider whether it's time to finally put an end to this nonsense. What's your opinion on that? By the way, if you want to support this channel, feel free to leave me a like and a subscription. It would really help me a lot to reach even more people. That one day we might actually take to the streets to put an end to this nonsense.
Ms. Baas wants to force voters to vote for women. She wants to separate the first vote by gender. There should be 1 first vote for a man and 1 first vote for a woman. Someone needs to explain to Ms. Baas that the problems of our country can't be solved with genitals. For all I care, our finance minister can identify as a forest spirit with the pronouns ox and wox. But it would be nice if he could master basic arithmetic. That would be something new. Applause. After each election disaster, they start spouting nonsense. I can't mobilize the voter base. We first have to analyze, we have to explain our policies to the voters better. Blah, blah, blah. Is there actually an oral medication for verbal diarrhea?
Well, by now, it's just clear that they simply want to drive the poorest families in Germany into ruin. And with that, as we've just seen again, they drop even further in the polls. What happened after the election is now causing even more chaos in the SPD, and according to the latest polls, the SPD is still headed for a crash now along with the CDU. Because people here in Germany are simply fed up by now. There are still about 15% of Germans who are somewhat satisfied with this government. And even there, the trend is declining because in the last 14 days, it has simply halved.
Ms. Baas simply hasn't thought of giving a first vote to dogs yet. Probably because she's not sure if dogs would vote for the SPD, since German Shepherds and Rottweilers might be close to the AfD. While Chihuahuas, Dalmatians, and Peruvian hairless dogs would probably vote Green.
Just like the compulsion they're trying to set up now. I mean, hey, can we just vote for dogs too if our only choice is whether we pick a man or a woman? Although we don't even know if the man or the woman is actually suited to lead this country out of the crisis. My opinion, I don't know how you see it, is that we actually need politicians who work for this country again. And the gender, personally, I wouldn't care at all. If it's a really good politician, of course I would also vote for women. Although, I don't know, why don't you name a woman you would definitely vote for in the next election?
But the general uproar on the internet once again proves that the web has perfectly replaced the place in front of the city gate, where citizens used to gather with torches and pitchforks to take down the scapegoat.
Exactly. So I'll talk a bit about the general atmosphere, because what we've seen in the past weeks and months is simply that people, they just don't want to go along with all of this anymore. People here in Germany are so fed up with politics that they're really on the verge of actually changing something. We can see that again in the latest polls from INSA, even from ZDF and ARD, the polls. You can see that the CDU and SPD are in a simple or even catastrophic nosedive. Because people here in Germany are simply not willing to give up their family health insurance coverage. They are not willing for all sorts of laws to be changed again, from the drug law to the health insurance law. Instead of simply focusing on the economy and saying, okay, we urgently need to get the economy back on track. No, the only thing they do, and we've seen it again this week, is they go and throw millions at Syria. While our coffers are, I would say, absolutely bankrupt again, and we have to misuse the special fund, we have to take on debt. For other countries, that's what Germans are no longer willing to go along with. And this time, Dieter really, and I have to say it like this, yes, hit the nail right on the head. What is the special fund?
And the Office for the Protection of the Constitution is consulted so that funding doesn't end up with extremists, which normally even leftists would have approved of if it had been about right-wing extremists. I don't think it's unreasonable to assume that the outrage would have been smaller if a right-wing extremist bookstore had been removed from the funding list. But no, this was about left-wing extremism. Is it really so terrible when the state doesn't pay people to say they think the state is crap?
And that's what we're seeing again this time. That the state is actually taking action against certain left-wing terrorist organizations here in Germany. Even the calls for proposals here in Germany for NGOs have now been restarted, much to the dismay of Lars Klingbeil's wife, who is responsible for collecting all the tax money and distributing it to the left-wing organizations. She's probably already quite upset, but I think we don't need to worry about that in the future. That Lars Klingbeil's wife will probably still get a lot of money from Lars Klingbeil to distribute it again to left-wing organizations. But the ultra-leftists, they seem to have a problem with this state now. What we're seeing now is that finally something is being done here in Germany against these people behind the attacks on our infrastructure. Yes, I really have to say it like that, pushing it forward, because that's all it is now. And on the other hand, bookstores are now simply being kept out of public view. Personally, I actually think it's quite good to take a step like that, and I think the same should be done on the right. That really goes absolutely against anything we know about human psychology here in Germany. Yes, that really should be gradually stopped here in Germany, and no more tax money should be spent on it. What they do in their back rooms, personally, I don't care about that. I really don't want to interfere in people's private lives. I don't know what your opinion on this is. But I really have to say personally, people can do whatever they want in private, but not with public tax money.
It's tough for bookstores to survive these days. Honestly, the whole retail sector is struggling. I was in our city recently, a lot of vacant stores, and you wonder how that happened.
Man, dear ARD, how does that happen? Maybe it's because of taxes, the fees that keep getting more and more expensive. Maybe it's also because people aren't willing to spend any money anymore. And maybe it's also because this economy is simply being systematically run into the ground by the ruling parties. But what do I know, right? Now it's affecting the Berlin police as well.
Even in parts of the Berlin police force, the toilet paper is getting thinner and thinner. By now you can see through it. It says there you can see through it. Do you know what should truly comfort us? Just beforehand.